Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Molitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. Andy, week 5, solid. The Chicago Bears were a huge reason why ended up being my biggest need of the week, and that helped make up for some other bad decisions like ever getting involved with the Browns. The Monday Night Football result, one way or the other, is not going to change my week, or my opinion of this week. And I think maybe the most interesting thing that happened was a little bit of, would you say, like MVP clarity, or just in general, like a little bit of MVP chaos ensuing? Like, I really thought Brock Purdy was going to rise to the top of the board. And obviously the Cardinals loss derails that. Josh Allen feels like he got a little bit eliminated. Joe Burrow might be eliminated, even though he is putting up badonker numbers.
He had a big day.
Yeah, what was
but you can't be MVP if you don't make the playoffs. I don't think.
No,
they're 1-4. So we'll get to all the games, but I mean, on that point, Purdy is now 2-3, and the other issue is the Vikings won. So that is 2.5 games back plus the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
They've lost head to head. So that's a big gap already.
I simmed the season, and my expectation for the I still have the Niners as the top power rated team in the NFL. And
I don't understand what that second half was.
I sim the season, and I have them coming in like 9 or 10 wins a lot. Right? Like, in fact, my most likely number 2 seed when I simmed the season today was the Commanders as a 10-win team, which seems fucking crazy. But I think the Vikings are very live to get to 12 and might have a 2-game gap on the next best team in the NFC, which is crazy.
The schedule is not difficult. This was
a
front-loaded schedule where we were worried he was going to have to play, Stroud, Purdy, Adams, Love. He did. And, it was like, what if they're 1-4 and they've only beat the Giants? It's like, well, it's not exactly how that's happened. And this is a good point everybody is mentioning. I had a team in my head. I dug in a little, didn't spend a lot of time on it. And then the Discord, several people were in agreement with this, including Discorder extraordinaire Brad Wellsant. But the Eagles,
the ref.
Not only the Eagles getting this schedule that they have put in front of them, people being kind of quiet on them just because they haven't been impressive. They're not one of the big stories right now, and they're likely to get both of their big receivers matter more than anything.
Sure.
This offense, you've seen how it looked without them. Hurts MVP. Some people got 33s with the schedule. With the receivers coming back, maybe even getting a 2 seed. It was just
he's gonna have to play better than he's been playing.
Well, and I think you saw what you had early in the year when you had Smith and why can't I think of the other wide receiver? AJ Brown, Smith and Brown in. So I think that's the thing. It's a big number with an easy schedule, and if you think he plays a ton better because he gets his 2 best receivers back, and that matters a lot, and you've seen what that looked like when they were playing and you had Saquon full go, there's something there. I don't know if there's any value on some of these other longer shots because I don't know what their path is to a top 2 seed.
This seed, honestly.
Well, this might be a thing too.
You either need a 1 seed or a top 2 seed with a really just a wow stat line, a wow total EPA line, and no one's gonna have that.
That is a worry for Hurts too.
Here's the other major macro takeaway. You ready for this? I don't think we've ever done this handicapped football publicly in a time where there was less elite teams. Right? Everyone that is just good has fatal flaws, right? Like, there is no top here where you have 1 or 2 teams that have really distinguish themselves. Even the Chiefs, who are winning right now, like, this team has flaws. Like, these teams are all flawed. And if the top is flat, then you're going to have stretches where teams that we think are really good lose like 4 games in a row. And then all of a sudden it's going to just dump all of these markets, and it's all going to just turn over. And it's going to be, this is the league Roger wanted with, with parity and turnover. But now it's happening in a season. I don't see there being a runaway here in any regard. But I do think you're going to have the 1 seed to get it.
There is no top. Yeah. That's a pretty good joke. I don't know that you need the 1 seed because of what you just said. If there's all this parity and we realize, like, hey, this team that got the 1 seed, they aren't some.
Well, that's what happened last year with Lamar.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I feel like maybe unless you're taking a big number, it's probably folly to bet right now. Like,
yeah, okay.
If there are 8 teams that are near the top and they're all good, great, but not grand,
yeah,
then it's probably going to get decided in the last month, and you take some shots there.
Dude, every year we have done this. I've had teams in the 6.5 range as we are kind of entering the meat of the season. And right now, all my top teams are like barely kissing 4. Like, there's no real good this year. There's real bad, and we'll get to them.
Yeah,
but there's no real good.
Having teams crest above 7, 7.5, it just happens this time of year. Now, like, all my teams are, well, it's falling into the 5s because it's like Buffalo got above 6. Well, they certainly deserve to be there.
A little premature, turns out. Yeah.
Turns out, yeah. All the great teams are just not as great as we thought.
Kind of want a 51-yard make, right? We want him to make it. He dunked it. No good. Short field now for the Saints. Shoot. Damn it, Andy.
Yeah, but it's 2nd and 9 already.
Oh, is it? You're way ahead of me.
No, I'm just assuming.
Oh, you're just assuming that they burst out for 1 yard. I love it. All right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's still obviously a lot of football to be played, but yeah, I just don't feel. I don't have high confidence right now that I know who's good in the NFL at all. And this week's results were a little bit of kind of more of that messaging, honestly. So, fastest here, another good example, Andy. Fastest that they've ever cleaned out a survivor pool, and it had more participants than ever. Like, that's fucking wild. Like, this has just been the year for the dogs.
You look at the Wong teaser argument, which is taking over CLV some reason, but the dogs. Because what did we have last night? Yeah, Dallas was a 2.5-point dog. So the dog teaser legs went 6-0 this week.
Brilliant.
But if you try to bet, and even if I throw in like the 6.5s and 7s, which are not Wong teasers, but I know people like to tease them down. Essentially, it's like doing a money line parlay with those. Like, those teams are like 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5. It's like 1, 7, and 1.
Amazing.
And I think the Chiefs over the Chargers was like the
those should be hitting at 70%, and they had 17%.
Well, and not only that, but like I think that was like the straight up record as well. Like, all these 7-point the Jets straight up, the Niners straight up. I mean, even the Seahawks this week straight up lost. Like, all these teams that are 7-point favorites, it's not like they're not covering the teaser. They're not covering the line. They're not winning the game. It's not like they're not winning by 1 or something. It is real. It's gotten real ugly for the favorites.
Yeah.
And again, that comes to the parity, I guess.
Let's rip through some of the thoughts game by game. I don't have much to say about Tampa, Atlanta. I think Atlanta was lucky to win. Finally, we had 1 million points scored.
I wrote total bullshit loss. Hey, Kirk does join. I have a fun stat here. Kirk joins an elite group of quarterbacks, joining Aaron Rodgers as the only people I will cheer to be injured.
I thought you were going to say elite group of quarterbacks who have thrown for 500 yards after tearing an Achilles, because there's probably one person who's ever done that.
Legs pop. I hope both legs pop after that. Well,
I got bad news for you, man. Atlanta could get the 2 seed right now. Their schedule is super soft going on. Like they might just back into wins the whole rest of the way and be a 12-win team, which is crazy. By the way, I pointed out the Commanders being my most likely 2 seed at 10.3 wins or something like that. The glut of 10 to 9, not 10.5 and 9.5. I have 8 teams in the NFC that all fall in that same window, right around 10 wins, which is crazy. You're gonna have like a 2, 3, 4 seed that are all 10 and 7. Unbelievable. Anyway.
I'm gonna have to sim my stuff. So yeah, I don't have a lot of takes. Tampa Bay probably deserve better, but dims the brakes when you go to overtime and play better defense.
Yep. Jets does not deserve to be in that game at all, but Sam Darnold injures his ribs, plays like crap. They leave the door open for Aaron Rodgers to come on through. Aaron Rodgers gets a broken play where Garrett Wilson is uncovered, a walk-in touchdown, overthrows him. Then he does not overthrow Stephon Gilmore, who gets the game-winning pick. And the rest is history. A lost opportunity for the Jets. Their season now looks like it's in jeopardy with them at 2-3, and Aaron Rodgers saying and doing dumb shit. And their schedule does not get easier anytime soon. I mentioned I wrote down AVG. I don't remember why. Oh yeah, Andrew Van Ginkel does it again. That guy is everywhere. Yeah, I mean, really, the story of the Vikings season to this point is now no longer Darnold. It's no longer Kevin O'Connell. It's literally, wow, Brian Flores has a top 5 defense, right? Like,
I do want to give the Jets defense credit. Like they caused issues for the passing game for Minnesota, but Darnold wasn't accurate, especially after the injury. He missed some open guys. The Jets should get some credit for that defense, but yeah, Rodgers, I don't know who he's going to blame, because all three of those interceptions were bad, and they were on him. It was an overthrow. It was a throw completely to the wrong spot on the one that ended the game essentially, and then the Van Ginkel one. It's like, what were you looking at there? Like, what was the deciding there? There was a lot of defensive pass interference called in that game. A lot of it was, I mean, they're tugging jerseys.
Yeah, I didn't think it was unwarranted.
It felt bad because it was lopsided, but then you go look, and for almost the entire game, Minnesota had more penalties and more yardage than the Jets. They were getting called for a lot of stuff. It just wasn't DPI. So yeah, Van Ginkel, a couple more big flash plays like that, and he's probably going to start weaseling his way into the DPOI conversation.
Yeah, he feels like a guy that finishes top 5 but doesn't win. All right, the 1 o'clock games. First on my list to discuss is Carolina, Chicago. I don't have much to discuss. Carolina's defense is 32nd best in the NFL as currently rostered. Chicago had their first solid performance offensively of the Caleb Williams era. They did some dumb shit. And I think anyone would love an opportunity to go back to the well and bet Chicago. My post-game adjusted numbers for Chicago and Carolina here, not accounting for Jaquan Brisker, who I'm not sure was hurt or will be available in London. But after I was high on Chicago going into that game, after adjusting them up a hair and after adjusting Carolina to where I think they ought to be, I would have been outside a touchdown on that one with a redo. So.
Yeah, that was a bet I made. That was the easiest casher, even at 4. I said, like, this is fine. Bet this at whatever you want, because unless the Bears throw bad, it's just mismatches all over the field for a team that's an imperfect team, but they just had mismatches on both sides of the ball every which way. They took advantage of that. I don't have a ton of notes on this. Like, the Bears weren't that great, but the offense had a nice day without the big mistakes on the softest possible test. Now, Brisker did not fly to London. They left early.
Concussion,
there was a door left open. They said it doesn't mean he's out. They said he could still fly to Chicago or fly to London on a later flight. They just didn't want to put him on this early flight this early in the protocol. Same thing with Pickens and the other player that was out, maybe Jenkins. Panthers, meanwhile, get to play Atlanta. When your defense is hurting and you just saw Caleb Williams put up that kind of game, what you want to do is face a rested Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, rested team.
That might just be Falcons first half team total over 20, alt line, whatever. It's just 21-3 at half, and the game's over unless they do something wild. But Thielen out matters a lot too. We've seen Andy Dalton regress quite a bit.
Yes. And people are now, the tape's out now on what they're trying to do with Andy Dalton.
But
also,
Tommy Trundle's out with a concussion. That was a piece they used.
The center too.
Corbett. Centers are
centers are dying. What is happening? God, good luck. Put your center in bubble wrap if you think you're a playoff team. Holy
it was his biceps, which usually isn't good because when it's an injury, like how do you even hurt that muscle? It's usually bad. Like a triceps by. The right tackle left the game. Leggett left the game. They got even more banged up in that one, and I don't think they're long for this world as far as being not eliminated from the playoffs.
No. Baltimore Cincinnati was the game of the day in terms of entertainment factor. Maybe the game of the season so far.
Century.
Several just wild swings of win probability, and if you had told me that the Ravens were going to find a way to win this game and it was going to be on the back of blowing a lead and then coming back from that big of a deficit, I would have been like, man. So you're telling me their defense just gets absolutely gashed all day long and their offense found a way to claw them back into a game? I would have been like, man, I know the Bengals defense is bad, but are they that bad? Wow. And the answer is yes, they are. They were that bad. And ultimately Cincinnati probably should have won in overtime, but bad special teams and just in general, like kind of like small boneheaded, poor coaching type of mistakes that I think ultimately prevented them from getting this done. When you were watching live and you saw the 70-yard touchdown from that was run in by Chase, were you like, they scored too quick? They needed a longer drive there to really take some of the air out of Baltimore.
Everything felt like that late where it's like, oh no, the other team has a chance here. And that settling for the 53-yard field goal was probably not the best plan, but I mean, I bet he makes that if the snap's better.
For sure.
They probably win that game on a better snap. That was a all-time bad long snap that bounced and the guy just didn't have a good chance to get it up. And then, that's the thing. Like Joe Burrow was averaging over 10 yards per attempt. For the game. There were some big plays. This one and the Colts game had some big plays left and right, which was very fun.
It has me this has me scratching my head entirely about how to rate Baltimore's defense. Are they top 5?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think they can be if that's the kind of stuff you give up. And yes, it was a good offense, it's good receivers, but they
So how do you square that with an overall rating? Because the offense Lamar is playing at a much higher level than he did as the MVP last year. Would you agree?
Yeah. It's especially what he's done in big. We saw the play where he double stiff arms a guy and makes it happen. Like he's seeing it clearly. He's what do you want to say? Just like managing. He's managing the game, but in a fun way. Like he's a fun game manager. So he's not playing them out of games like we've seen in the past, where he makes some big mistakes late. But at the same time, it's not like his MVP season where it's just like a constant 40-yard scramble with 3 sick moves in it. It's just a good offense that's able. It's kind of like Kansas City where it doesn't have to be relying on the big play because Derrick Henry apparently is 22 again, and they've gotten a lot out of the run game, and the defense is pretty tough right now. I'd like to see that. I kind of want to watch this game again.
They're top 10, but they're not top 5, you think? Like, so 7th-ish?
It's dropping. It has to drop if you give up that. They should have lost the game.
Yeah, they should have lost. Yeah. The success and everything was not good there. Okay, so Cincinnati is now 1-4. Their playoff odds, their to make the playoff prices are just not moored in reality. This is now a long shot for this team to make the playoffs. I know that we just went on and on about how nobody's good. But you've dug yourself a real serious hole now. I don't think their chances to make the playoffs is better than about 22%. What do you think?
So it's funny too. I looked at this with the Raiders, who I have just dead right now. I mean, just dead, lifeless team.
Well, the Raiders have to start losing. They have to.
So I'm looking at that and I'm like, oh no. If they drafted right now, the Raiders would draft 10th. That doesn't get you your quarterback.
Maybe he's a good tight. Maybe a good tight end.
Maybe a good tight end. There are seven 1-win teams, and there are another 11 2-win teams. One of them is in the playoffs. If the playoffs started right now, the Chargers would be in at 2-2. So I mean, there's so many teams that have 1 or 2 wins. Like, it's going to be hard to get this top pick for them. They need to start losing badly. And so the point also being, there's a lot of bad teams. Cincinnati doesn't have to climb over a lot of 3-win teams. I think they could sneak in a wild card if they get shit together. But it was funny. I put a poll up on Twitter a few weeks ago when they were 0-2, and I said, who would you rather take a flyer on? Brutal.
I don't even think Xavier Worthy was really going to ever try to make a play on that ball. He literally, he knew he had his guy beat on the ground by foot speed, and so he was literally just going to figure out a way to get the PI call. Don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, which is smart to it.
Of course. He wasn't really trying to make a play on the ball at all. It didn't feel like. Anyway.
Whatever. What were we talking about there?
Oh yeah, the Bengals.
Oh no, but it was. I feel like I'm gonna go look at the percentage, but it was overwhelmingly Baltimore, or excuse me, Cincinnati, because they had an easier schedule, and it's not. It's 3-2, 1-4 right now. Yeah. A lot of people joked that they would bet the Steelers instead, which, I mean, don't do that, guys.
Don't do it. Buffalo, Houston was a weird one where Houston was just face-meltingly hot early. Buffalo could do nothing offensively, which was, I think, a testament to maybe Houston's defense being a little better than we realized. Buffalo's offense has the whiffs of being solved. I know I hate even saying that because Josh Allen is a very difficult man to beat, but this wide receiver room is not the answer, and it is really frustrating to watch Josh Allen try to do anything in comeback mode or do anything in super high leverage situations where it is a known pass. It is just not good. Houston loses Nico Collins for what sounds like could be an extended period of time. And honestly, the first thing I thought was, man, they've been living on freaking prayers and Nico Collins all season to this point. Like, if he's out for an extended period of time, there may be a way to attack that AFC South. But defense for Houston might be good enough just to keep him in it while he's gone.
He's just been such a safety net as far as like, oh, you need a long third down conversion. Oh, do we need to score on this red zone possession? Do you need a big chunky yardage to move fast here? It's always him. And he's always been open. It sucks because hamstrings take time. It's not he'll just play through this ankle sprain, which, speaking of that, we kind of missed that with the Rodgers news. The Jets opted not to take the bye after their London game, and Rodgers now is banged up again, and it sounded like low ankle. We'll see what that looks like next week.
Yeah, he said low ankle himself, so we'll see.
It should be fine, but it's not like you look good. Yeah, the Collins thing is problematic. This was a weird game, and this is one I haven't gotten time to watch again on the quick 30-minute recap. But from Kevin Cole's column, email, whatever, which I get.
His Substack.
Yeah, his Substack. The Bills, 29.7%.
Unexpected points, by the way, which is very much worth reading if you care about football. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
I pay money to read this.
Of course. And I would pay double. Yeah, it's excellent.
He doesn't charge a lot. He does really good breakdowns after the game, which I just like to read to get a feel for, how the overall success rate and how the teams actually played, because he does a good, breakdown of that. Who else? I can't think of the Twitter account. Alphabets guy. He does that with his true. Oh
yeah, earned drive points.
Earned drive
deep value
points.
Better, yeah. Yep.
Deep value better. There you go. I love reading those. Those help me a lot with my evaluation because it's nice when it's like, okay,
what a pick for those of us on some under. Oh baby.
Oh baby.
Oh baby.
Oh baby.
Oh baby.
Yeah, he
we
did.
got a
He
fat
did
guy. We got a fat guy picking it in the end zone.
The 29% success rate was the worst number since his rookie season, and
Wow.
that was a different person.
Oh yeah, Josh Allen was 9 for
so
30.
That's the thing. 9 for 30 for 131.
Yes.
They were
bumbling.
Here's the thing. So like the Bills only sacked once, only 4 penalties for like 25 yards, no turnovers. Those are the things that fuck up a game. It was just they were so bad and everything. 3 for 14 on third down, and like we said, Josh Allen 9 for 30 through the air. You're not going to win games like that. And it is crazy how the Texans offense just flipped that switch with Nico out. We lost our team total over. And I think if Nico's in, they're probably in the 30s.
Oh,
that offense is so much different.
Oh, not just if he's in, but like they had fumbling problems. They had missed field goals, right? Like there was all kinds of shit that really made that hard. Anyway, I forget really, but I think Houston was clearly the better team. But my enthusiasm for betting Houston these next few weeks is not warm at all. I think this team is potential fraud alert. Anyway, speaking of fraud alert,
real quick on the Bills throwing it. We litigated this in the Discord a little, so I compared it to the drive at the end of the first half between the Cowboys and the Steelers.
Yeah,
throwing the ball can take up a lot more time than running it. So if you look at that drive where the Steelers did it, it was like 3 seconds per play and then instant timeout. You throw the ball, they took a bunch of time off the clock. The obvious disadvantage is the fact that they get to keep their timeouts. But if you get it to a small enough number, those timeouts don't matter. And you have the advantage of what if we throw for a first down? Because then we can obviously just keep moving the ball and then make them use all their timeouts and still be
the part of the calculus. I mean, you still are risking a safety.
It's super risky though. You're risking a big pick.
You're risking a lot. But they were kind of screwed. I don't know what you were. McDermott, I feel bad defending him. He's a dink at times, but I don't know that he did anything egregiously wrong there. We'll see. And honestly, like you shouldn't have won. You shouldn't have won the game anyway. You're flawed, man. Your offense is flawed, man. The defense for the Bills played a lot better than I thought.
James Cook was good. Passing game wasn't.
Right.
We'll see what they look like with Devontae Adams.
Yeah. Speaking of fraud alert, the Jacksonville Jaguars finally got a win, Andy, but it came at the hands of a Indianapolis Colts team that had no one and somehow closed a 14-point gap in about 2 minutes at the end of the fourth quarter.
I actually played strong safety for the Colts for a bit on Sunday.
Holy hell, man. The Colts have no one. I really feel bad for how injured this team is, and there's more losses. Somehow Flacco is the 5th best quarterback in the NFL. Go figure. And it sounds like it's going to be Anthony Richardson when he's ready, which is probably going to be this week. It sounds like the Jags they got their hands full this week going to Chicago. Their season, the season has not been saved. Doug Peterson's job has not been saved. He's just avoided questions for 1 week. And I think Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas Jr. is fun, but I don't know anything else that I'm excited about with this Jags team.
Yeah, Colts lost their right guard.
I guess Tanks Bigsby is fun.
Tanks Bigsby is very good, especially with ETN banged up and him getting the opportunities. He was good. This was another one where we had big plays to Pierce. We had big plays from Bigsby. It was kind of the light, shittier version of the Bengals Baltimore game. We had all these fun big plays, the comeback at the end. Honestly, it was the same game. And, Jacksonville probably deserved to win. I have these teams rated pretty closely, and I guess they were at home. But in the end, either team winning this would have been fine. Yeah.
I guess I'd rather Indy won it just so that there was a AFC South chaos situation you could prey on. I don't think I can get involved with Colts to win this division. I don't think I can get involved with Jags to win this division.
I played some
bad teams
on the Colts. Felt a little fortunate, but in the long run, it's like, man, am I really fortunate? Like, they probably should have been in this game the whole time.
Yeah, they should have been in the game the whole time. I don't have any more thoughts on that one.
No, Jags had London as well.
Yeah. Yeah, Jags head to London. We don't know. They're probably heading later than Chicago. I can't imagine the Jags are already on their way. The Chicago left tonight, which is kind of wild. Jags should leave tonight because the freaking hurricane's about to fuck up Florida.
I think it goes south of them.
All right. Speaking of Florida, Miami went up to New England and they played a football game.
Bad game.
Sounds like we may be at the end of the Drake May holding pattern experience. Although, what were we waiting for? Why now? Okay, David Andrews replaced at center, but the offensive line is still terrible. Miami was, their defense isn't any good at all, and yet he still could barely run offense. So, I mean, the Patriots are the worst offense in the NFL, and it's by a huge margin. Yeah, no thoughts. Sheriff Fart game of the week of the year lived up to its billing.
Every week, the Patriots are going to be in the shower fart game. They so many injuries in the offensive line. It's just going to be hard to get anything going. But as an offensive coordinator, you need to find a way to scheme things for Drake May where he doesn't get murdered. Like, just find a way to get him out there and learn on the job, because you're not finding anything.
Yeah,
just let him play ball. Devon Achane concussed, which I guess the timing, Mostert was back from his chest injury, so they do have Mostert now, but that offense is pretty tame as well.
Miami gets it by anyway, so who cares?
Yeah.
Cleveland at Washington. Speaking of Sheriff Fart game of the year of the week of the years. No, I just mean
Washington
Cleveland,
Fat Cats ruining a Midwest Rust Belt town.
There was a lot of pork barrel in this one.
Yeah.
Washington did not play especially well at all. And you know what, Andy? It didn't matter. They won by margin because
Daniels probably like his worst game since the
worst game. But it didn't matter. The Washington defense warrants a sniff of an upgrade, I think, based on how well their front seven is playing. But that coverage unit is still super sus, which is going to be the entire. I need to spend all of my day tomorrow thinking about this. So we have a take for Washington, Baltimore, because I don't know if Baltimore really has the weapons to hurt Washington where they can be hurt. That's going to be a really, really good matchup. Really, really, really fired up for that game. Washington's defense is not bottom three. They're more like bottom half. Washington's offense is not middling. They are clearly top 10. No other thoughts?
Frankie Louvu, 2.5 sacks, 2 tackles for losses, 3 quarterback hits. He was a big addition. We're starting to see something from people not named Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen. Bobby Wagner, timeless wonder, I guess, too, had a decent day. Secondary is still very bad. They're still not good players. But if you can get something out of the pass rush, that's going to help a lot. That's going to help them a ton.
Did Ward get injured to the tune of missing this game against the Eagles? Denzel Ward? I heard somebody mention Ward hurt.
I'm gonna have to double check that. I'm not fully caught up in injuries.
Because the Browns defense is in free fall right now in general. Taking on a healthy Eagles team without Ward is going to really, really, that's going to be bad for them.
I don't know. He was ruled out. I don't have an update on that. We'll have to dig into that.
Track that. We'll track that. Didn't watch Vegas, Denver. Did you?
I watched some. Denver was impressive against a bad defense, It looked good enough. Like, it's another one of those where, hey, this is not a good offense, but they should be able to do at least like the bare minimum against a bad team. They did, and their defense did a lot of work. Like, they have a very good defense at this point. It's quickly creeping up, and that was, I guess, not super surprising. As far as directionality, I guess I didn't see them creeping up this high. Some of those points, are essentially they only gave up 10. I mean, the eight late were garbage points. Amir Abdullah, 5 for 42 yards. There's something in the stat line. But yeah, they're I don't know. It's not like a no-name defense because obviously you got Surtain, but like Justin Sternad, Zach Allen, Jaquan McMillan. It's not big household names. It's a bunch of guys doing it together, and everyone looks pretty good.
What's special about it, Andy?
What's that?
Vance Joseph. He's having the time of his life. Coordinating these guys, coaching them up. That's the secret. And it's also funny too, because I think your third favorite for coach of the year right now is Sean Payton, when he seems to be doing very little of the heavy lifting for this Broncos success.
I know. I don't give him credit for
none of it. Like, has he lifted a finger? Is Bo Nix just developing himself, and then the defense is overplaying what you would expect for the talent? Because I'm not impressed with Peyton.
Riley Moss, white cornerback, guys. That is unicorn, Iowa corner. He's got a pick. He can't win
Strnad. Justin Strnad is putting up numbers. Being able to fill in for Alex Singleton like he just was born for this was a surprise.
Didn't matter. The Singleton injury didn't hurt. And yes, it was Gardner Minshew, so such is life. Next up, Niners, Arizona.
Sean Payton has gained a lot of weight. He is fulfilling his movie archetype to a T. Kevin James esque figure from Mr. Payton. Arizona, very lucky to get a win in San Francisco. But hey, man, the NFL wants the Super Bowl loser to have a hangover, and a hangover they shall have.
They shall.
What the fuck, man? How did the Niners lose this game? They were on two different planets in the first half. There was one functional football team and one team who, they'd be fun if they could just get it together. Well, they did in this game, and they came back and won. I was really it took a good 10 minutes after absorbing the importance of the Jordan Mason fumble and being like, man, Niners might lose this game. I wasn't watching you. Sorry. I had the screen up. That's good. That's good.
That's good. I mean, it was sloppy. The second half, the only word for the second half was sloppy. The defense looked bad. They were missing tackles. They were playing sloppy. They were taking bad angles, and they let them back in the game. And then at the same time, the offense just didn't finish. They were 1 for 6 in the red zone. You lose games to good offenses.
Yes, you
will.
will.
1 for 6 in the red zone. You lose an over that had no business staying under. There was plenty of notes about me being mad about that. They even to lose an over. They did lose their kicker, but to get the blocked field goal return for touchdown, that's not even included in the yardage. They had 750 yards. You don't even get to count that. And it's crazy. Niners are 0-2 in the division, I believe.
0-3 in the conference.
0-3 in the conference. And these two teams, 750 yards, 2 for 9 in the red zone.
Dude, the Niners need to win this week, and they need Seattle to start sucking, or else this is like very much going to be a close call when it comes to
Hufanga mattered too. He exited the game. He hurt his wrist. Will Hernandez hurt his knee. Like, I'm done playing football for a year. Hurt his knee.
Yeah, he's done. So he is done.
That's a problem.
He is done. I like him too. That sucked. There were 3 offensive linemen who I had been like really enjoying what I was getting out of them, and they all went down for the year. I saw today. Will Hernandez was one of them. That sucked. Anyway, we move on.
Yeah, Indy, that Freeze. He stayed in Jacksonville for surgery. Like, hey, my leg is broken.
Oh, we got a missed extra point. You know what that means? It's going to be awfully tough to get to 22.
It might be a little tricky. Live total's about 39 right now. 49ers probably fine.
Probably, but only because everybody else in their division has has some serious problems.
Yeah.
Everybody good has huge problems that are not like the cavalry's coming. There's lots of that.
The Rams could be 4-1 and just can't win a game.
They cannot win.
Seattle's defense is hurt and their offense is a little inaccurate, inconsistent. And Arizona obviously has it's not a complete roster. It's going to be tough for them to win a lot of games.
They don't have a defense.
Yeah. And their offensive line is hurt.
Yes.
What does that leave us with?
That leaves you with the Niners as the 4 seed with a 10-7 4 seed because they lose all of the tie breaks. Niners are probably your 10-7 4 seed. I'm not kidding. It's weird. The last 4:00 game to make a note of was the Green Bay at Rams game. You mentioned the Rams can't find a way to win. This was a good example. I don't know how they lost this game. My kind of game grades came out being like, oh yeah, the Rams comfortably won, right? No, they lost.
Yeah, everybody's
Jordan Love made the shower fart play of the year so far in the young season, or was the Will Levis one worse? Will Levis one was probably worse. This was literally like you just handed your opponent 7 points.
So the Will Levis ones are expected. Like you expect more out of Jordan Love. So that makes this pick 6 worse. It was bad. It was pretty bad.
This was the worst play of the year so far, I think.
Well, and it's funny too. Everybody glazing him about that long throw in the first quarter.
I know.
It was a terrible throw. He never saw that safety.
He had no business throwing that ball.
Like he lucked out that guy just
lucked into it.
It's like Tecmo Bowl where the guy's doing circles instead of running to the ball.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely ridiculous. The note I have for the Rams, the pass protection is still an issue. They're getting wide receiver 1 play out of this kid from Texas, Whittington. Like every time I looked up, I was like, "Oh, dude, this guy is doing Puka Nacua things. He's doing Puka Nacua things. He's doing Puka Nacua things. Like they got another 6th round Puka Nacua this year. How do they do this?
Well, you wonder if Puka Nacua is drafted by like 30 other teams.
If he doesn't have what he did,
is he just Jalen Reagor?
Yeah.
Like, maybe. Is this just McVay can take a wide? Yeah. And obviously, he has a lot of talent. He does a lot of things right, but. It's crazy what they've done with like backup wide receivers.
Yeah, like how come nobody's knocking the door on the wide receivers coach for the Rams and being like, let's give this guy an upgraded position in our outfit.
What if you're an OC
like,
now?
Yeah. Geez, if you're like the Falcons, you have an OC that has a relationship in that building. Like, go get the wide receiver coach.
Yeah,
bring him over.
You're like,
they're doing everything right.
Now. Yeah.
Anyway.
I think
it feels like the Rams season's probably done, right?
Yeah, big mistakes are costing them, and then the injuries up front, the injuries to the wide receiver, it's just been too much to overcome. They probably should have won. They did get the pick 6, which is nice, but it's so hard to beat teams when you're this banged up and you're also having the bad turnovers. Same as last week. Like the EPA lost on those big turnovers, and that cost them the cover and probably the win.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
It did. But
feels like their season's done.
It feels like their season's done. I don't know what saves it at this point. And Stafford also is like, he's looking a little washy-washy. I don't know where you rate him right now, but he shouldn't be. He shouldn't clearly be in the top half, right?
We didn't do Seahawks Giants.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that game. Oh, what is this by the Saints defense, Andy? What are we doing? How in the world do you flip the game like that and then give up that play to Juju Smith-Schuster? Good God.
Juju's cooking today, baby. Yeah, the third quarter was slow. The fourth quarter is starting out a little hot.
We had a cornerback slipping incident, but goddamn, no one else available.
It's rainy, maybe.
Yikes. All right. I'm frustrated by that play. Damn it, man.
Yeah, Honey Badger fell. Seahawks have some serious issues on the offensive line and the defensive line. Some of it's injuries, some of it's poor drafting, some of it is just the players they have to start the season with. Geno, protected against a bad defense, can hit a bunch of stuff in the intermediate to deep just fine. When it's not happening, you get what you have here, and they don't have the offense that can play like shit when their defense is going to give up that sort of stuff to Daniel Jones, sans Malik Willis. That was a pretty rough performance by the Seahawks defense. They deserve to lose the game.
Yep. And the defense got more injured than they were. People were kind of talking about, they got healthy. No, they didn't. They still have huge missing pieces, and they have now a short week and a better offense. They are fucked. That's the only bet I've made so far this week is Niners -3.
Yeah, that Nwosu, who they had to slowly bring him back. He hurt himself. He was ruled out. Reek Woolen was hurt, and then somebody else, Hall was injured as well. Like, they're not
holding on Carl Granderson. What?
They're not getting people back as well. So it's gonna be really tough to see this team.
This is gonna be a bad week. Yeah,
playing a decent level of defense for many, many weeks yet.
Yes. All right.
Sunday night?
Cowboys played the Steelers. The Steelers voodoo finally ran out. The Cowboys played their hardest game of the year, but they were poorly coached and were lucky to escape with the victory at the end of the day.
Didn't Carl Granderson play for the Phillies? The Reds. Yeah. I believe the Reds. Maybe. All right, now they're scoring points. This is annoying.
Direct snap to Travis Kelce, who handed it off to Xavier Worthy.
I think they should call that a pass. That would help me in fantasy football. Need some Kelce points. Yeah, I kind of thought about this morning. It really bugged me as I woke up tired because I stayed up past midnight watching football and then got up at like 5:30 with the kids. But it was like two forces pulling in the same direction. The Cowboys screwing up games late and the Steelers having the voodoo, and it still was too much. It got overcome. You can't double them up on yards and still lose to the voodoo. Like the Cowboys did just enough, and they needed a fourth down touchdown to overcome all this. But at the same time, the post-Lions week effect. I don't believe in that sort of shit, but that one doesn't smell too bullshitty to me because you play. I mean, we've talked about.
Well, it was Widowmaker
and Widowmaker. I bet against the Widowmaker. I didn't care because my numbers are so off. But yeah, the Widowmaker remains a 60% ATS against for the 9 days of rest versus 5. I think we have another one coming up this year. Maybe I should just blindly bet that one, I guess. But
you have another one coming up next week.
Yeah.
It's the Saints hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaroos. Bucks get extra rest for that game. The Saints get a short week. And the Saints are not covering themselves in glory right now. All right. Looking ahead to this week's games, I mentioned it already. I played the Niners. That's the only bet I made so far. I make that number 4.8 with expected players available. You have 4 teams coming off a bye. They are Philadelphia, who is a healthy favorite hosting the Cleveland Browns. You have Tennessee, who we don't know will be their quarterback, taking on Indianapolis, who we don't know will be their quarterback. You have the Chargers coming off their bye as 3-point favorites right now in market at the Denver Broncos. And then you have Detroit with a extra rest to prepare for this Dallas Cowboys team, which I don't really know how to rate either. Where do you want to go first?
Yeah, just some of the bigger moves, like I don't know, as far as like look ahead to full action here. I should pull up my week 6 stuff. But
yeah, the Bucks are leaving early this week because of Tampa
Bay. They're already in
the city of Tampa Bay. If you live in Tampa Bay, please
get out.
I don't think I've ever seen anything like this happen this quickly in a while.
I don't believe the New Orleans line is actually up. I'm like, Arizona. That's Arizona. Green Bay is 5.5. So that didn't change enough to look at. I think I'm fine with that. You did see a reaction to the Jacksonville Chicago number, which I wonder about. That look ahead was Chicago -1. It's now Chicago 2.5.
With no Brisker, that's wrong.
With no Brisker, and in a weird neutral spot. Especially with a team, say what you want about them, but you know that they have so much experience. They've
done it a lot
over there,
yeah.
And they've obviously a lot of planning has to go into doing a 2-week trip over there. I don't want to bet on Jacksonville, man, but if this gets bet out and we see 3s, obviously I think those get gobbled up. But I would probably be on something like that. Arizona Green Bay didn't move off the 5.5. That looks pretty correct. The total's about the same. That did drop a titch. Indy, Tennessee, is that up at places? I feel like it's just been kind of a pick 'em, which is maybe there's not a big adjustment for either quarterback anyway. I don't know if it's a big change for me. Like they bring different things, but I kind of looked at where I had them from an EPA per play standpoint. I'm like, I don't know if I'm making a big adjustment for this. A big adjustment that we did see was Philly Cleveland. I don't know if you mentioned that game, but that was 6.5, and now
it's going to 10.
Yeah, Philly's 8.5, 9.5, depending where you look in the market. That total, and not only this is the disrespect that you're going to get for the Cleveland offense, even against a bad Philly secondary. This side went from -6.5 Philly to 9.5, and the lookahead total has dropped a point to 1.5.
Oh man!
So they're saying not only is Philly going to beat their ass even harder, it's just they may not.
Well, I mean, I think they're making. I mean, like honestly, they're literally telling you that Cleveland and New England's offenses right now should be comparably ranked, and that's not crazy. I mean, Deshaun Watson, you saw all of the numbers today, like in 600 times, and going back to 2000. Deshaun Watson is 600th best EPA per drop back through 5 weeks. Like,
I know, and I have a little problem with those stats.
Yeah.
So that's weird because most teams would have just pulled him by now. That's why he's 153 out of 153. Nobody would have stuck with him this long, as bad as he's played. So he's going to be the worst of the worst, which I guess is fair. That's a good way to view it because it's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Denver Chargers number going from 2.5 to 3. I wonder about that as well. I
am not there, man, at all. That one's I'm scratching my head on 2.
I'm on the other side of that.
I'm scratching my head on 2 market moves this week. That one, I thought, if anything, that was going to go towards Denver. I don't know what is so special about the Chargers coming off their bye that they're going to have offense in this game. And then the Dallas-Detroit one too, man. What a premium for this Lions team. This is what 3 is it good? Is it at 3.5 yet? Like holy shit.
So I haven't made a Dallas.
It's basically 3.5 now.
I haven't made a Dallas adjustment yet, but that one I agree. So I'm with you on Denver slightly. Like that's a definite Denver lean, even with them off bye. I can't get out to 3. I'm more like 2 and change. But the Dallas number, unadjusted from the game so far, against Detroit at home, even with Detroit getting extra rest, I'm like Detroit -1
a hair
at the most.
Yeah, minus.
I'm that's rounding up. I have it like Detroit -0.75 with the little extra for the bye.
Yeah.
So I'm quite off on that. I might bet that. I'm sad I left Dallas off the card. That was a big edge. I just didn't want to bet into a Steelers game and have to deal with betting into a Steelers game. Which it makes me sad. Now I'll chase that. It's like the guy in craps who bets the number after you hit the you have to hit the number.
I mean, if they make the swap for real from Gardner picking his nose and eating the booger Minshew to AOC, like that's a downgrade, right? Like Pittsburgh is going to absolutely manhandle them, I would think. It doesn't look like AOC knows how to run the offense still. Anyway,
no, it was bad. I would agree. Those are a couple that I'm off as well. I'm much more off on the Dallas one. The Cleveland Philly one as well. I haven't downgraded Cleveland enough, and obviously my Philly number doesn't have the wide receivers in, so that number just is the wrong color on my spreadsheet right now until I make some adjustments for Philly. I mean, my Philly offensive numbers are going to be very, very different with those wide receivers out. Behind that, Washington, Baltimore. I don't know if I need to. I feel like I've upgraded Washington pretty aggressively.
Yeah,
and I'm still at a touchdown. I think
I'm done with my numbers for the week for that game. For now, I have 5.9 and I have 49.6. So I'm going to be on the under.
Total jumped up to 53. That lookahead was like
on the under
50.
in that game.
Oh, God bless.
I know. That feels terrible, but I think that's the right bet.
Well, let's think about that. So what is the game state that we could end up with an under? And is there a better way to bet that?
It's probably.
So what are you saying? Is it a bad Washington day?
An under is literally that just either one of these teams generates a meaningful lead and then the opponent can't answer. Because you have two very good offenses in this game. These are two very good offenses and two defenses that we have big questions about.
It's crazy that Baltimore has a better running game than maybe they have in years past when it was good, and they still can't. They still can't grind out leads.
It's crazy.
I agree that total's gotten a little too high, but I don't know what to do with that. I make it 8. I need to downgrade Baltimore. I think a little bit. Washington's not getting an upgrade. I had them a pretty aggressive upgrade already. I was on market with the Cleveland Washington game. Glad I stayed away from that, I guess, because if you made me, I would have said, well, fuck. It's a big adjustment.
You got absolutely killed on 4th and 8.
He threw the Tipton, though. Everyone wanted that. And then my biggest edges from there would be
track it weird.
Ooh, you know what? You know what my numbers want me to bet? Carolina. That's probably not happening.
Yeah. No. Your numbers want you to bet Carolina? You against Atlanta? Now? Atlanta. After all this? I haven't upgraded Atlanta's offense. My Atlanta number looks like a fucking NBA playoff series. Every week I have to try to figure out where I'm at with them. It's not a big one, but it's just saying, like, if you get, because is it 3.5? Or 6.5.
6, excuse me, 6.5.
6.5, yeah.
Yeah,
I just don't know if Atlanta or the over is the better bet there. Because guess what? Atlanta's scoring into the 30s, right?
That was a look ahead that adjusted up as well, too. So that was 44.5. You're looking at a 47.5. And
Bijan Robinson might finally do something.
That look ahead was 3.5, and that adjusted up to 6.5. I'm obviously not there with the Atlanta offense. They put up 500 yards and they're playing a worser defense, albeit on the road. So, I mean, just what is the Atlanta team total in that? Like 27?
Yes. That's the way. That's the way in.
Might call that one early.
Yeah.
And then Buffalo Jets reopened with Buffalo's a 2.5 point. I mean, that was always what the line was. That's
two funny things for you, Andy.
That's a game I don't want to bet.
Two rare instances I want to bring up for this week for situational stuff.
Yeah.
Your final 2 primetime games. The road teams have the travel advantage. Cincinnati has done less travel than the New York Giants.
Yeah. Well, the Giants just sent to Seattle and back.
Yeah, and Buffalo will have done less travel than the Jets.
Yeah, because they went the other way.
They went to Houston, and then from Buffalo to New York is short.
Somebody made the joke on my tweet about what a long day I had. Somebody made the joke that, like, before the Cowboys game is over, the Jets and Vikings had already arrived back in the United States, and I don't know if they were joking. Like, I'm like, God, that's actually kind of feasible. They may have. Like, did they just get up and leave? And, like, the Vikings are on bye. Wouldn't you just stay there and sightsee with the wives? Maybe the Jets are back.
The Vikings have work to do, man. They're thinking about what they're going to do during their bye week before the divisional round, as they are locked into the 1 seed in the NFC right now.
They got to figure out that. So, the Bengals game. What one was that?
The Bengals are the Giants. That's Bengals Giants Sunday night. I'm on market basically in both of those. I make it like 5, but obviously I'm not high on the Giants. I bet against them this week. That adjusted down a little from 4.5 to 3.5. There's some juicy 3s in the market as well. Interesting in a primetime game in the Meadowlands. Let's see if we can just get some run from our Kansas City Chiefs. Any other thoughts on the slate that's coming up? The NFL in general, who wins the award? Let's save some more thoughts for Wednesday. Let's save some thoughts for Wednesday.
Let's do a big podcast on Wednesday night.
We'll call it a day. I like that call. Is that a pick? I can't tell. This game's getting stupid. If there's another touchdown score, I'm gonna be pissed.
I would like this drive to take a lot longer than it currently is. That would be nice. I'm gonna play the outro music. We're gonna call it.